Midlands 103 Green Home at Energy Show. Mark it on your calendar. It is the 23rd of February. That's a Sunday from 11 to 4 at the Tullamore Court Hotel. Lots of exhibitors and lots of experts whose brains you can pick, including Brian Cloonan shall be doing a live Mr. Fix-It. And I'm not sure if that will be informative so much as it is entertaining, but either way, that's on the agenda. 23rd of February, Tullamore Court Hotel. The Irish Bioenergy Association was a very popular stand last year, and so Sean Finan, the Chief Executive, is back once again for 2025. Good morning.
Good morning, Will.
And we should clarify what is meant by Irish Bioenergy Association, all the different energies that are counted there.
Yes, Will, we represent the bioenergy sector. So you would have heard from your previous contributor about solar produced from light energy, whereas with bioenergy, it's produced from biomass. So it's produced from material that would have grown so it could be woody material, it could be your forest residues, it could be grass, it could be fats and oils, it could be slurry. So a wide range of materials which contain energy as a result of being living in the past or living organisms in the past.
So who are the stakeholders in that industry?
So there's a wide, diverse range of stakeholders. So you have the large energy consumers and users in this particular region, and you'd have Bord na Móna as a big off-taker from a biomass perspective, indigenously produced biomass, and even listening to some of your adverts there, the likes of Willow Worm is one of our members, and also Rigna Fuel. So there's a wide variety of sectors, being solid biomass, liquid biofuels, and the gaseous biofuels as well. So they're biogases, biomethane.
But by virtue of being at this show, you're going to meet a lot of members of the public. So I'm thinking the farming community, for instance.
Yes.
How can the farming community seize an opportunity? What's your pitch?
So our pitch is that bioenergy offers a complementary opportunity for farmers. So they could decide to put a portion of their land into forestry, and that wood that they produce, obviously the timber goes to the construction sector, but the thinning material from that could be used to produce firewood and wood fuel, which they could sell in the future. They could also be utilising their slurries and their grasses potentially in biogas plants that will develop in the future as well. But our key stakeholder really in terms of engagement at the energy event which you're holding is domestic and general householders who are looking at their options from a decarbonisation perspective and looking at what they can do and looking for information. We found that very valuable last year, and that there was a lot of engagement. People didn't understand what bioenergy was or is, and they were engaging with our stand to get a better understanding of what the sector is. We had a lot of inquiries about wood pellets, we had a lot of inquiries about firewood, we had a lot of inquiries about, the different types of liquid fuels like biodiesel, even HVO, all different types of fuels and liquids. So we use the show. We don't sell anything at the show because we're a representative body, but our members, we put people in touch with our members who are the people that sell these fuels and different types of energy decarbonisation options.
A lot of focus has been on the electrification of heating in homes, and following Storm Éowyn, some found themselves badly exposed, where even today there are still, I think it's 25,000 customers who have yet to be connected, some nearly 12 days on from the storm. So what alternatives, again mindful of the climate agenda, could provide an alternative to that?
So over the last number of years in the Irish Bioenergy Association, we have always very strongly advocated for a mixed policy approach regarding decarbonisation. So really your energy requirements in your household are electrical and heat. So you need to have electricity, you need to have heat. So we support the rollout of all the different electrification options. We're not directly related to those in that we're not involved in those particular sectors, but they are a key part of our energy policy. But really the government has focused very much on those options to the detriment of other options which could potentially have provided solutions to people over the last week when they were out of power. So those solutions would particularly be around heat, providing heat to households. A lot of people without electricity their heat pumps weren't working if they had heat pumps, or indeed their systems which needed heat to or need electricity to operate didn't operate. So through the Wood Fuel Quality Assurance Scheme and through the members of the Wood Fuel Quality Assurance Scheme right across the country, they're supplying firewood, wood chip and other wood products. You can get wood fueled appliances which do not require electricity to operate, and those appliances would have worked in the last week or two for people that didn't have electricity, and while they mightn't have electricity, they would have been able to keep warm as a result of having the appliances which I speak of. So what we're really saying is that there needs to be a broad approach and taken to the policy roadmap around the decarbonisation of heat particularly, and incentives introduced which can allow people, if they want, to put in a log stove or a log fuelled system.
Now, I'm sure there are listeners who will say, well, if you're going to be burning timber-based products, why not just stick with the turf that you have at the moment?
Well, and everyone has their own choice what they want to do, but we have seen the introduction of the solid fuel regulations, and the solid fuel regulations restrict the sale of turf. It's still possible to use turf, but wood fuels are a direct substitute. But wood fuels are a renewable source because the wood is the wood. First of all, the wood fuel comes from thinning material, so the thinning material is taken out of the forest to grow larger trunks, and those larger trunks are used for construction timber in buildings and as low carbon construction materials. So the thinning materials have to go somewhere, and there has to be an outlet for those, and the thinning material finds its way into the wood fuel sector through our own membership in the Wood Fuel Quality Assurance Scheme, and it's a renewable source. If wood is thinned or a forest is clear felled for the large trunks to be taken by the construction sector, then it has to be replanted. So wood fuels are seen as a renewable source and they can be continually generated. Whereas if you take fossil fuels from the ground, your oil and your turf, then that's not been replenished. It has been produced through natural decomposition over millions of years. So that would be just the difference.
I also believe from an air quality perspective, burning timber is more desirable. It's the lesser of two evils versus solid fossil fuel.
It is, so long as you use dry wood fuel. There's a big difference in using wood fuel at 25% moisture content compared to a wood fuel at 35% moisture content, and that's what the whole solid fuel regulations is about. It's about introduce controls on the moisture contents of the wood fuels which can be sold on the market, and ultimately the objective of all of this is to protect people's health and to improve the quality of the air that we breathe, which is probably more of an issue in urban centres rather than rural settings. But the solid fuel regulations, since its introduction, are trying to address those issues.
We mentioned farmers earlier, and you talked about forestation being one of the options. But following ash dieback, many farmers have found themselves burned and perhaps will be unwilling or wary, at least, to embrace it again. What would you say in response?
Yes, there has been an issue with ash dieback. Our members aren't directly the forest producers. Our members are more the off-takers of the material. But there have been a lot of foresters and a lot of forest owners that have been severely impacted by the ash dieback situation. It's not an area that we have particular expertise in, but we are open to talking to people that would like to sell some of their ash material to potential firewood producers, which could give that material a market. But yes, the forestry sector overall has large targets, but has been challenged in recent years around getting more trees planted and getting more forestry in place. But hopefully we'll see change in that into the future, and because we need trees, we need forestry as another land use option in the country.
We talked to you when the National Biogas Strategy was launched, and we updated again in September at the National Ploughing Championships. And I think 4 to 5 months had elapsed at that point. Not a lot of progress had been made. We're now 4 to 5 months on again. What's the update?
Yeah, it's a source of frustration, Will, for a lot of our members that little progress has been made. The strategy, as you said, was launched probably April, May time last year. That strategy set out how we can grow a large-scale biomethane biogas industry in Ireland. So for your listeners, biogas is produced through their anaerobic digestion process. That's where you put in material into a closed system, the absence of oxygen, and the natural bacteria within the material breaks down and produces a gas, and you have a slurry material left over. The government identified two mechanisms by which they could develop the industry. One was a capital grant scheme. The capital grant letters were issued and the grants were offered out, but it's kind of a two-legged approach, in that there was also talk about a renewable heat obligation scheme. So the renewable heat obligation scheme was placing an obligation on fossil fuel suppliers that they would have to include a percentage of renewable gas in their fossil fuel mix. But unfortunately, we haven't seen the shape or the design published of the renewable heat obligation scheme as of yet. We've had lots of discussions with various different government officials, department officials and politicians about the renewable heat obligation scheme. But with the election back in November and the forming of government, the whole system has been in stagnation, I suppose, for the last number of months, and it has slowed down the progress of the sector. So we do hope in the next few weeks that the renewable heat obligation scheme will be published, and that will provide a mechanism by which there can be a market set for biogas and biomethane. That then will drive the development of these plants, and that then potentially will drive the farmer opportunity to get involved in these facilities through the supply of feedstocks, or indeed some farmers themselves might be interested in getting involved in the development of these facilities. But there is a large capital outlay required, and it's not for the faint-hearted. It's a large-scale industrial process, so everyone has to understand what that means before they embark on a potential project.
Yeah, but as we discussed in the past, there's potential for cooperatives, and eventually, hopefully, it bears fruit. But for the moment, it sounds like it's a work in progress.
It is a work in progress, Will.
Well, if you want more information about that, or indeed alternative fuels for your home, or anything else associated with the Irish Bioenergy Association, Sean Finan is its chief executive. He's from Tullamore, and you'll find him at the Midlands 103 Green Home and Energy Show on the 23rd of February. Sean, thank you.
Thanks very much, Will.